I learned this in a Bema podcast episode that is linked below, so go check that out for the whole thing here. But basically what I learned from Marty is that there were common tropes or templates for parables in Jesus' day. So one of the most common ones that we have today is, three men walk into a bar, and one of them ducks, right? Or something like that, right? It's a common joke setup or a parable setup. In this case, you had three people. You had a Levite, a scribe, and a Pharisee. And the Levite, of course, is part of a corrupt temple system by Jesus' day, and so he's never going to do the right thing. And the Levite is part of the system as well, so even though he's not, or the scribe, even though he's not as corrupt as a Levite, he is also part of the system, so he's not going to do the right thing either. But the Pharisee, he's going to do the right thing. Okay, so with that as the backdrop, check out this story. So basically, a lawyer shows up and says, "Hey, Jesus, what's the most important thing?" And Jesus says, "Well, what do you think? Because you're a lawyer, right?" He says, "Well, love the Lord and, love your neighbor." And Jesus is like, "Yep, good, cool, do it." And he says, "Okay, but who's my neighbor?" And so Jesus tells the story. Okay, a man's going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he falls among robbers, and they beat him and leave him. And by chance, okay, here we go, a priest was going down that way. When he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Obviously, he's a priest. He's a terrible person, okay? He's part of that evil system, okay? Okay, sorry, I have this mixed up for what this is, but the priest, part of the priestly, temple system, not good. Okay, then the Levite, who's part of that system, but not as bad. A Levite also, when he comes to that place, he saw him and passed by on the other side, obviously. So who's coming next? But a certain Samaritan? Where's the Pharisee? Pharisee's the one who does it. Okay, but a certain Samaritan, right, as he traveled, came where he was. When he saw him, he was moved with compassion, came to him, and bound up his wounds, poured on oil and wine. He set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave him to the host, and said, "Take care of him. Whatever you spend beyond that, I will repay when I return." Now, which of these 3 do you think seemed to be a neighbor to him who fell among the robbers? Now, obviously, it is absolutely correct for pastors and others to point out the racial tensions between Samaritans and Jews. And that's all absolutely part of this thing too. In fact, that just heightens this even more, right? Like this is even more intense because of it. But everybody is expecting a Pharisee to show up. And instead, Jesus casts a Samaritan. I think that that's just absolutely fascinating. And I had no idea that that was a trope in that day. So that was pretty cool. Had you heard that before? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. This is the Blog Tree. Let's learn more together.